for Sports Illustrated, covers boxing for DAZN, of course, and can also tell us whether the Celtics are done making moves on the roster. I'm, picking this guy's brain on round ball whenever we bump into each other. All right, so last Saturday, you covered the Prograis fight. Regis Prograis beat Danielito Zaria, but by split decision. So, a lot of times when a dangerous guy like Prograis has a close call, he becomes more attractive to fighters he'd otherwise be a little dangerous for. What's next, do you think?
Look, Eddie Hearn is in New York this week for the Edgar Berlanga fight. He's going to meet with Bill Haney and with Devin Haney to discuss a Prograis fight for the fall. I mean, Devin Haney, of course, has some options at this point in his career. He can stay at 135 and defend his belts, but that is getting less likely, it seems, by the passing week. There are some good options for him at 140, and they begin with Regis Prograis. I think there will be a lucrative offer on the table for Devin Haney to fight Regis Prograis in September or October, and we'll see if he decides to go that direction.
And Teofimo Lopez, who I had on the show last week, and he's telling me, Devin Haney, hold on, Devin Haney's the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. That's a big, high-profile fight between the champions of two divisions. He claims he's retired for now. Like, his claim is actually, I'm retired. I'm going to stay in shape. I'm retired. What do you make of all this?
Well, he claims he's retired, and he also claims that he's vacated that version of the 140-pound title. Simply texting Paco with the WBO doesn't necessarily vacate that title. I think what Teofimo wants is to be paid like he should be paid. I don't know exactly how much money Teo made in his last fight. He says it's $1 million. Other people will say other things. But he wants to be paid like Devin Haney has been paid over his last few fights. I think Teofimo is going to wind up holding onto that belt for at least the next few weeks, even the next couple of months until he's forced to make a decision. And then when he does, he'll be back. Somebody is going to pay him to be in a significant fight. He's arguably the biggest name right now in the 140-pound division. I think we'll see Teofimo Lopez back at some point in the next 4 or 5 months.
So the other thing, not only the biggest name, but what I love about what happened at lightweight and junior welterweight is I don't care what belt who has, right? He is beaten. Teofimo just beat Josh Taylor, who beat everybody. Like, no one else had a legitimate claim to the crown except for Josh Taylor. And now that belongs to Teofimo Lopez, and he's fighting a guy in Devin Haney who did the same thing at lightweight. He cleaned him up. So the undisputed lightweight champ, I like in terms of the styles matchup and what would be produced with either guy, with Prograis or Teofimo. Is it possible we could get Haney and Teofimo at some point?
I think it's very possible. I think, look, Devin Haney, as a promotional free agent, is going to make this a bidding war. It's going to make it effectively an auction. He's currently even talking to the Saudi Arabians about doing a deal with them down the line. I think we're going to see Devin Haney, because he does want to fight sooner rather than later. I think he eventually goes to Top Rank, and he goes to Eddie Hearn and asks for the best deal that's on the table. If Teofimo Lopez is not going to stay retired, and if he's going to come out and fight, Devin Haney would absolutely be willing to fight him at 140 pounds. But I'll tell you this much, Max. It's probably going to cost you close to $4 million or more to get Devin Haney back in the ring, and that's a very rich price for either one of those fights.
But good for him for standing up for what he believes his value is. The market will determine whether that's the case or not. I love a fight between the lightweight champ and the junior welterweight champ. And speaking of a fight for the championship, we'll get to that in a second. But I want to, you're here in New York because of the Berlanga-Jason Quigley fight on DAZN. And this is, since time immemorial in boxing, this is how big punchers who are vulnerable, or at least fighters who, for whatever reason, early in their careers, they developed reputations as big knockout artists, and they seem to hit a wall at a certain point in their development. Their promoter finds guys a division or two smaller, past their prime. Maybe they were once good, not big punchers. Rocky Graziano, they did. Somebody up there likes me, Paul Newman. That's about Rocky Graziano, middleweight champ. From 100 years ago, literally almost 100 years ago. Jeff Lacey, which at this point is how many years ago? 20 years, something like that.
Long time since Kazagi beat him.
But Jeff Lacey, same thing. They get smaller guys, and it seems like that's what's going on with Berlanga. What do you expect here?
I think Edgar Berlanga's in a almost no-win situation in this fight, because 2 fights ago, Jason Quigley was just starched by Demetrius Andrade. Nobody's sitting here calling Demetrius Andrade some kind of massive puncher. So short of sending Jason Quigley into orbit, I think Edgar Berlanga is going to have a problem getting any kind of respect off this fight. What Edgar Berlanga can do, though, is end that 4-fight decision streak, pick up a knockout, and then put himself in position for a bigger fight. Max, it is a very easy fight to put together. A matchup between Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. And I challenge you to name me more than 3 or 4 fights in the second half of this year that are more compelling than Edgar Berlanga against Jaime Munguia. That is a rock'em, sock'em robot type of fight between two legitimate 168-pound, highly ranked contenders. Munguia is with Golden Boy. Berlanga is with Matchroom. Both these guys fight under that DAZN umbrella. If both these guys want it, and they should, that should be the next fight for both before the end of the year.
Of course, because Munguia is largely the same thing that we just discussed. But I would say Munguia is on a higher. Like, Munguia will go into that fight as the favorite. He just beat Derevyanchenko in a great fight, but however old Derevyanchenko is, he's good.
No, let's be clear on how old. Let's be clear how old he is. He's 37 years old.
Nowadays, that's not ancient.
He's 37 years old. He's a longtime middleweight, and he almost had Jaime Munguia knocked out in the 5th round.
So, but Chris, he's a good fighter.
Good. I'm saying, but
Berlanga hasn't been in with that yet.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not saying Edgar Berlanga is on a higher level. I'm just saying Jaime Munguia, to me, is just as vulnerable in a fight like that as Edgar Berlanga. It's a very even fight.
We see that the same way, except right up until the just as vulnerable part.
Maybe a little less vulnerable.
Yes, right. All right. I want to talk about Canelo. He's been fighting, I would call them plausible opponents, except for Bivol, which is weird. You're fighting guys who, okay, he's good, but we really want to see you fight this guy. And the first time you fight one of those guys I'd really like to see you fight the one with the worst style for you, the hardest one to beat. We're hearing Jamal Charlo in September. What else can you tell me about that?
Yeah, Canelo is about to announce a multi-fight deal with PBC, and it's believed that's going to begin with Jamal Charlo in September over that Mexican Independence Day weekend. A lot of people were hoping that Canelo Alvarez was going to fight David Benavidez. That is not an option for Canelo, at least not in the first fight of this multi-fight deal. Jamal Charlo, even though he has been incredibly inactive, he's been off for more than 2 years. He still is undefeated. He still has a middleweight title, and he still has a name in boxing. So I would expect over the next couple of days to see an announcement for a Jamal Charlo Canelo Alvarez fight. And look, for Canelo, this alignment with PBC just makes sense. He's going to get a lot of guaranteed money from PBC, and he's going to get a lot of those legacy burnishing fights that he has been looking for. Charlo may not be the big fight, but it's not bad, especially when you consider some of the alternatives. Yeah. And then if he goes into May or September of 2024 and fights David Benavidez, that could be an even bigger fight, and that could be another legacy fight for Canelo.
Absolutely, and he has to. I didn't say it was ever a duck, but at this point, it becomes a duck at a certain point. If you don't get in with him.
He wanted to fight Bivol. I can't ever call Canelo a duck because he keeps wanting to fight Bivol.
I know.
Why?
I know he's not, but Benavidez is in your division, and he's beating everybody. By the way, if that doesn't happen and Benavidez fights Morrell, that's not a guaranteed win for Morrell is very, very good.
I'm skeptical that Benavidez gets him Morrell now. I think with the Canelo fight looming next year, I'm skeptical that a Morrell fight happens next.
But if Benavidez Morrell does happen, that's a great
purist
matchup.
fight. It's a purist fight right there.
Chris Mannix, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Chris, as always.
You got it.
Hall of Famer Tim Bradley next. Famer, the great Tim Bradley. Welcome back to the show, Tim. 2 weeks ago, you were inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Try your best just to describe the experience.
Overwhelming. A lot of activities during the week. A lot of fanfare. Tons of autograph signings, from dinners to the fist casting, which was one of my favorites, to riding in parade where you have 10,000 people screaming for you in Canastota. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable experience. I had a fantastic time. Ed Brophy does a great job. He has a great staff out there that really take care of you and look after you. And it's something that I would definitely remember for the rest of my life.
And by the way, when this Hall of Fame was started, there's a rival Hall of Fame, and it was unclear at first which one would be considered the Boxing Hall of Fame. But you're right, Ed Brophy has made this the Boxing Hall of Fame. It's recognized as the one. Any truth to the rumor that you made a head cast, or is that just not something that actually happened? I'm just saying, if I ran it, I might make you make a head cast. Tim, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence compete in your old division, welterweight, one of your divisions. They're finally going to fight on July 29th. Who wins and how?
Oh, man, that's a great question. They're fighting, Max. That's how you're going to know who's going to win the fight. They're fighting. But I have some concerns. I really do. And the first thing that came to mind is can Crawford win a decision in Vegas? You have to understand this. Look at the history of Crawford and the way he starts fights. He's a bit of a slow starter, and you think about the way Spence starts fights. He's quick out the gate. He's consistent with his offense. And going down the stretch, if he gets behind on the scorecards, Crawford, he's going to need a knockout to win in Vegas. And you got to understand that the history of the judging in Vegas. I remember the Floyd Mayweather era where defense was, thought to be great, and you were getting points for defense. But now it has shifted. Now it's more about the aggressive fighter, the fighter that throws more punches. That's what I'm seeing from Vegas judges now. Guys that are in your face, pressing the action, being the aggressor. And we know Spence is that guy. So that's my concern moving forward in this fight. But my pick has always been Terrence Crawford. I think he's more versatile. I think he brings so much more to the table than Errol Spence. And I think he's going to take advantage of some of the holes that I see in Spence's offense. So my pick is Terrence Crawford. Sorry.
All right, I want to talk about what you just said in a second because I agree with your analysis. The whole key to this fight is that Crawford usually studies his guy, but Errol Spence is a high-volume puncher. He throws punches with bad intentions. He throws a lot of them head and body. He's shown the ability to box behind a southpaw jab and not get hit if he wants to. Like he is a lot going for him, where if Crawford takes too long to get going, he could be down 4-2, 5-1. He may have even been hurt at some point and is going to likely need a knockout at that point. Can he stop Spence? On the other hand, something Andre Ward says about fights occasionally has stuck in my mind. In an even fight, a super fight between two evenly matched guys, who has lived better? Who's been more about the fight game and taken better care of himself? Because in the moment of truth, that can really come through. In my view, when you look at them, that would be Terrence Crawford. You said, though, that he could take advantage, Crawford could, of holes in Errol Spence's offense. What are they?
Well, some of the holes is he lunges. Sometimes he takes chances when he shouldn't have. He'll lunge forward. He'll get himself out of position. He comes back to position straight on the line most of the time. And he's pretty predictable with his offense. It definitely is prolific. It got him. He's undefeated. He has 3 world championships, and he was able to earn it fighting the way he fights. But Crawford, being as so cerebral as he is in reading fighters and understanding and seeing weaknesses, I think he'll be able to figure out the pattern at which Spence like to approach these fights and take advantage again of guys that particularly lunge towards his opponents with his great countering ability. Excuse me.
Spence has beaten more good welterweights than Crawford, but when I look at Crawford, he cleaned out the lightweight division and was the champion of that division, the way you were at junior welterweight. Not he had a belt or what. He did the same thing at junior welter. If he beats Spence, he'll be one of the very few true 3-division champions in boxing, right? There was Henry Armstrong once upon a time. Duran didn't do it. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't do it. Tommy Hearns didn't do it. Not as the man and, the actual champion. Pacquiao did it. Mayweather did it. Very few have. Yeah. He would join their ranks. All right, this is my favorite sporting event you could make, Crawford Spence, and in the world right now, any sport. But it feels to me, Tim, like it was a little hotter a couple years ago. It's the opposite of Mayweather-Pacquiao, where the longer they waited, even if the fight itself wasn't as good as it could have been once upon a time, there was all this pent-up demand. So the event just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That did not seem to happen, at least so far. For me, my observation has been, and my sense of things is, it's not as hot a fight. It's not what everyone's talking about in the sports world now, only about a month out, as it may have been 2 years ago. Are you getting that sense in terms of the event, not the fight? Do you think they waited too long?
I don't know, Max. I could just tell you this. I'm on YouTube quite a bit, and I'm looking at the traffic. I'm looking at the traffic towards the viewership towards these promotions. And they're not millions of people following this or clicking on, this fight. So that worries me. And I think you're right. You have a point. But I could just tell you this. I know the week of or the day right before the fight, when the push comes, the big push to promote this fight, I think everybody's going to gravitate towards this matchup Max. I really do. We're going to find out who's the best welterweight in the world is, and possibly, Max, the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
That it's going to be the number one pound for pound. I'm sorry, apologies in OUA.
No doubt about it.
It could be number one. One division up.
No doubt.
Tyzu looked, I thought, sensational in a first-round knockout over the weekend. How much of a threat, how real a threat do you think he is to Jermell Charlo, the champion at junior middle?
Well, I can tell you this. Look, Max, 3 fights ago, I would say no, absolutely not. When he came off the canvas and he got up and he was able to win, it was a close split decision. I was like, man, defensively, I don't know. That right hand of Charlo was no joke. But after seeing him against Harris, a guy that's a veteran type of fighter, a guy that has skills the way he has great skills, great ability, great ring awareness, good high boxing IQ. And he was able to take him out. And then now he come in Ocampo and he destroys him in 1 round, doing a better job than what Earl Spence was able to do. I think now he's a real threat for Charlo. And Charlo, you got to think about the inactivity. That's going to hurt him moving forward. I love the fact that Tyzu is not sitting back waiting for his opportunity. He's staying busy.
Yes.
He's staying active. And he's honing his skills. And that's important. And he's going to be ready when his opportunity does come for Jermell Charlo.
I'm only cutting you short because I want to get to this topic here. Deontay Wilder's trainer, Malik Scott, says Wilder may fight Andy Ruiz and then Anthony Joshua. I love that. I mean, look, Wilder starched Ortiz twice in great dramatic fights. He had that incredible 3-fight series with Tyson Fury. He's maybe the best single-punch knockout artist ever. You could argue that the biggest punch ever in boxing is his right hand. And now he wants to fight Andy Ruiz, great matchup. And then Anthony Joshua, I love it. Your quick thoughts on that plan for Deontay Wilder.
All right, I just need less talking and more writing. That's what I need for all these heavyweights and everybody in each division. Less talking, more writing for all these guys. That's all I'm going to say about that. I can't wait. If it does happen, it's a fantastic fight. I know Andy Ruiz, I know he likes to eat, but I'm telling you right now, if he fights Deontay Wilder, he's going to sleep.
Oof. Oh, I mean, you want a good heavyweight matchup? Wilder and Ruiz? Wilder and Joshua? I'm in. Thank you, Hall of Famer Tim Bradley.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, Max. Thank you.
Next, it's your turn to ask me the questions. Max Me Anything coming right up. This is Max on Boxing. Me Anything, your questions, my answers. 1 round, ring the bell. Tom asks, all the perceived bad decisions lately, wouldn't it be better to increase the number of judges? If there were more judges, it would likely result in decisions that matched public perceptions more often. In other words, it would increase the chances of the right guy winning. I disagree. I think you don't need more judges. 3 judges is fine. They're all different sides of the ring. It's an odd number, so you don't get too many draws, stuff like that. I think the way to do it is to make use of the 10-point must system, as I've been arguing. 10-9 is for razor-close rounds. You're not allowed to score a round even. 10-8 is for rounds that you feel comfortable giving one fighter another. 10-7, a dominant round. Deduct 2 points for knockdowns. Play with all 10 points, and I think you will get to better decisions. Like Lomachenko-Haney, people think Loma won because there were only really 2 decisive rounds where Loma really got him in the 10th and 11th. Okay, make those 10-8 rounds and the rest of the fights 10-9, and maybe Loma wins. And then people are satisfied that matched more what they thought they saw. At Combo Convo 502 asks, after the subpar performance by Regis, Pro Gracie means, do you think Haney's eager to fight him next? I don't know. Devin Haney's not looking for soft touches, and maybe he doesn't get as much credit for a Pro Grace win as he would get for, say, a Teofimo win at 140 pounds. Haney doesn't seem to me to be the kind of guy looking, oh, can I look good against this guy? I want to fight him now. I think he's looking to prove himself. Randy asks, thoughts on a potential George Kambosos Jr. versus Ryan Garcia matchup? Love it. Love it. Kambosos is a real fighter, tough guy. And he got mad at me. He was tweeting that he thought that I was being gullible, believing the story that Teofimo Lopez actually had a medical condition during his fight with Kambosos, because I'm sure George feels that, hey, you're trying to devalue my win somehow. And he has a point. It does, in a way, it takes credit away, but he fought a great fight. He won the fight against Teofimo. You know, Mark Kriegel's reporting cites the source, and a credible source about Teofimo's condition. But nevertheless, Kambosos feels a certain kind of way about it. I don't blame him, and I would love him in that fight. I mean, that is a terrific matchup. young and less proven against also young and more proven, but maybe not quite as spectacularly talented. All right. Charles wants to know, how big a threat is Tyzu in the 154-pound division? I just asked Tim Bradley. Jermell Charlo is the champ. Zoo is a real contender. I think he is threatening at 154 pounds. You heard the bell. That'll do it for Max Me Anything. You can tweet me your questions to @MaxKellerman, and maybe your question will be answered on the show. A little more Max on Box.